What's up, everybody? This is Keya from the Wicked Majesty channel on YouTube, and you are listening to the Devil's Den podcast, the show that discusses books, poetry, movies, and facts in the genres of horror, paranormal, and true crime genres for folks who love dark, mysterious, and terrifying content. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Devil's Den Playground of Horror series. I am your host, Keya Reed. Tonight, I will bring you all back to a tale that all of us know, but some of us have never heard of the original tale. This story is a tale of a princess who pricks her finger on a spinning wheel and sleeps for hundreds of years until her prince arrives to wake her up with a kiss. Or at least that's what Disney has led us to believe. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about Sleeping Beauty. Now, most of us think that this story was written by the Grimm brothers, but it goes further back. In fact, it goes back to 1634, and it was written by an Italian author named Giambattista Basile, who published a book called The Tale of Tales. In this book contained the stories of earlier versions of Rapunzel, Cinderella, Snow White, and Sun, Moon, and Talia, which is known to the rest of us as Sleeping Beauty. The comparison and contrast to the story is difficult to ignore. The comparison is there was a king and a queen who wanted to have a child, but the queen had difficulty have a baby until one day she comes across a fish in her pathway that looks like it was gasping for air. So she carefully puts the fish back into the water, and the fish grants her her wish after the good deed she did for it. Soon the king and queen became blessed with a daughter. In celebration, the king and queen decided to host a party inviting the 7 fairies. But due to the fact that they did not have enough plates for 8 fairies, the 8th fairy grew angry and jealous at the fact that she wasn't invited. So out of revenge, she gives the child a curse instead of a blessing like 6 of the other fairies did. And as we all are aware, this curse was when the child turns 15, she will prick her finger on a spinning wheel and die. However, luckily for the princess, the 7th fairy didn't give her gift yet, and she softens the blow by giving her the gift of not dying, but to sleep for 100 years. Now, here's the strong brew. The idea that it is a prince that just goes out into the woods and finds this beautiful princess asleep out in the woods and decides to give her a kiss as if he was saying,
I know you've been sleeping for years, but baby, I'm here.
And she's supposed to be all like,
Oh, my prince has come to wake me from my slumber.
Any doggone fool knows this chick's breath had to be on fire. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. Now let's get down to the tea of the fairy tale. Apparently, in the original version, the prince wasn't a prince, he was a king. And he finds this princess in an abandoned castle. He picks her up from where she was sleeping and puts her into a bed and has his way with her. I said it, he did the nasty with Sleeping Beauty as she was in her slumber. Now, after the king leaves for over 9 months, Talia gives birth to twins. And the fairies, there were 2 fairies actually, that would come and help nurse the babies and keep them breastfed as Sleeping Beauty slept. Now, what woke Sleeping Beauty up was the babies sucking on her fingers, so much so that the splinter of the flax just popped out of her finger. Then, as she wakes from her sleep, she acts like it's all normal, like nothing is wrong. And some people speculate that it was flax poisoning, which made her mind just kind of react a little funny. But anyhow, later on, the King of Creeps starts reminiscing of his violation toward Talia, like it was a romantic interlude. He decides to go back to the castle and hopes to lay with her again, as they may have said back in those days. When he gets there, he sees Talia awake with the twin and becomes overjoyed. He then goes and tells Talia who he was, how he saw her, and what all happened. After she listened to everything the king was saying, they began a very strong friendship and began a romantic relationship. But there was a tiny little detail that the king left out. He was married. Now, in Disney's version, we know the villain to be an evil fairy named Maleficent. But in the Sun, Moon, and Talia story, it was the wife of the king. Alright, now, the king's wife finds out about Talia and the children through her secretary. And how it happened is she ordered the secretary to go snooping around to see what's all going on with her husband, because he's been staying up so late, and trying to figure out what's been keeping him. Well, after she finds out the truth, of course, she's jealous and very angry with Sleeping Beauty, to the point where she ordered the cook to seek out the children, have them killed, and served up in several dishes for the king, just out of revenge. Of course, the cook didn't have the heart to do that, so instead he decided to cook the king lamb instead. Then the cook hid the children away somewhere where they couldn't be seen. Later on, the queen goes out and finds Talia, kidnaps her, and plans out to throw her into a bonfire. Of course, there's more to this story, but I don't want to start telling the entire tale. But towards the end, the king orders the queen to be placed in the flames she built for Talia, and her secretary was thrown in the same bonfire as well. Then he was going to send the cook to meet the same fate, until the cook confessed that he fixed lamb, not babies. And the cook had his wife bring out the king's children from hiding. Then King and Talia later on got married, and they lived happily ever after. Craziness, don't you think? I think so. But anywho, that is all for tonight's episode. Please leave your comments and reviews. Let me know what you think about the original version versus the Disney version. If you are listening to the podcast and you like what you hear, go ahead and follow me on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, or iHeartRadio. If you are watching the podcast video on the Wicked Majesty channel, be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the shadows bite. Thanks again for listening to the Devil's Den podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Wicked Majesty, and on Twitter at Wicked Majesty, and also on Facebook, Wicked Majesty. Thanks again, and I will see you next time. Sleep tight, and don't let the shadows fight.